Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Because it's a long introduction is going on, it's good to know, some basic ideas connected with Vivekachudamani before we really, go deeper into the subject. पहले कुछ समझना अच्छा है ना, तो फिर एक दूसरी एक आइडिया लेके चर्चा करें. He says that, see, what is the use of all these metaphysical questions? Atman, Brahman, truth, oneness, consciousness, whether there is any meaning in all these inquiry, etc. Rather, because in this age of technology, etc., where people are, setting the target of conquering nature, so and extending the horizon of scientific knowledge, in this age, is it really important to go into all these questions of metaphysics about the existence, reality, truth, etc.? Then the author says that the metaphysical quest, or the quest about the ultimate truth or knowledge or value of life, etc., in the privacy of one's being. So इसकी खुद की ना, there is nothing to do with the external world or nothing to do with the second person. It is purely individual, purely subjective. But for that, it is not no way less, strenuous, or it's not less thrilling, because the adventures of modern man to set foot on moon or Mars, etc., they're all very exciting and very attractive. But the search for truth, search for the ultimate reality, etc., are no less exciting or no less interesting. So they're also very important and extremely difficult. All these also need, a tremendous sense of courage and strength of will. Actually, you need it much more than the strength and courage you need for a search of the external world. Because now here you try, you succeed, you don't succeed, it's okay. But then in the internal world, once you undertake the journey, if you don't succeed or if you really make any progress, etc., there's a tremendous sense of void or sense of unfulfilled longing in the heart. So, it requires far greater courage and strength of will to go into this inward journey and inward search, etc. So, if you conquer nature, yes, you will get one kind of ananda, one kind of satisfaction, etc. But the joy, hope, peace, etc., which ananda that you get when you conquer your internal nature, or when you know who you are, or you find answers to such metaphysical questions such as Atman, Brahman, etc., it's far, far greater than what you get when you go in search of this modern conquest of nature, etc. So the Atma Vichara is no less scientific, because it signifies the rigorous analysis of the Atman and Atman complex, rejection of every layer of non-Atman, the final knowing and being the residual Atman. So, while the conquest of nature and the extension of the frontiers of knowledge, definitely there is a reward, but the gain from the other is transition from unreal to real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityoma amritangamaya. So, if you conquer nature, if you are not tainted by pride or hankar, etc., your heart is simply, filled with bewilderment and sense of awe. It's so great, so extraordinary. But the conquest of inner nature, of this metaphysical search, it gives you a tremendous sense of joy and peace, which are called as ananda or bliss. such a person is not born again. Huh? So that is why Shankarpada Bhagavad puts it as huh? Punarna tasyanga guha pravesha. Both are adventures of the spirit to explore the infinite, the one is the spirit of the human being, other is the spirit of that the spirit of which is human. So in one is the expression of conquest of matter, the other is the negation of matter, conquest of the true spirit. So such a person never is born again. He attains eternal bliss, eternal peace, and eternal contentment. So these are of a different nature. One is largely about the conquest of matter, another you have to completely negate matter, go beyond that. And actually, truly if you say, in a sense, science ends where spirituality begins. Both are, of course, search after truth, search after reality in one sense. But there's a huge difference between scientific truth and spiritual truth because science largely talks of matter. Science, so far till now, very, very recently, they have started talking about consciousness, etc. Otherwise, science has always talked about only matter, their brain, etc. Even the idea of mind is not very clearly understood in science in that sense. But the such a spirit begins only when you start negating the matter, only when you accept there is something beyond matter, something transcendental. So definitely this is of a different nature. So another question that is raised is, of what use in the world are these जीवन मुक्तास? कोई जीवन मुक्त हो गए तो संसार के क्या प्रयोजन है, क्या उपयोग है ऐसे जीवन मुक्ति लेकर? They might have secured their own moksha, but what good they do to the world? धरती के लिए क्या काम में आएंगे, क्या काम करेंगे, क्या सहायता? This is a question which many people ask, contrasting the Jivan Mukta with people who engage themselves in what goes by the name of social service. बहुत लोग समाज सेवा करते हैं. As against it, ये दोनों के क्या फर्क है? जीवन मुक्त है, समाज सेवी है. समाज सेवी समाज का बहुत सेवा करते हैं, दूसरे की सहायता करते हैं. क्योंकि लेकिन जीवन मुक्त अपना मुक्ति लेके व्यस्त है, is busy only with his own mukti or liberation. So what is the use of such Jivan Muktas to the world or the earth? A Jivan Mukta is an enlightened person, a Virakta who has conquered his passions, has given up his possessions and is peace with himself. He is absolutely at peace with himself. So again we state that Gita Sloka, Yastu Atma Devasya Atma Triptascha Manava Atmaneva Santushtya Tasya Karyam Na Vidyate. Such a person has no responsibility, no duty, he is completely freed from everything. As such, he is at peace with the entire world and is characterized by universal benevolence and goodwill. His look is a benediction, his words are wisdom, and his conduct is a consecration. उनकी वाणी इतनी पवित्र है, उनकी दृश्य इतनी सुंदर है, सबको कल्याणकर है, सबको मंगलदायक है. In his presence, all physical and mental ills disappear, in the sense that their edge is blunted and one becomes able to bear them with fortitude. So, in his presence, all physical and mental ills, जितनी दिक्कतें हैं, बीमारी हैं, सब बिल्कुल खत्म हो जाए. In the sense that they all become so blunted, उसकी कोई और तीक्ष्णता नहीं रहेगा. And people are able to bear them with fortitude. See, कोई जीवन मुक्त है, कोई ब्रह्म ज्ञानी है, अद्वैत ज्ञानी है, उनका क्या कोई बीमार नहीं होता है? Somebody asked me once in a class, why did Ramakrishna get cancer? Cancer नहीं होती तो heart attack होता था, दूसरा कुछ होता था. Something, the body has to go at the end of it. How does it go? What is the exit route? So obviously, such things do happen. So in the case of Jivan Mukta also, there will be illness. But his mind will be so elevated, the pain will not affect him at all. he will not be bothered. He will be able to easily sail through that. He will, because his mind will hardly be in his body and he will always be above that. No? Two instances which you often discuss in your class. One is the famous Ramana Maharshi. He had such excruciating pain. He had the carbuncle in his arm. इधर कोई एनेस्थीसिया की जरूरत नहीं है, ऐसी ऑपरेशन कर बोल दिया था. They extend his arm and they could do operation without anesthesia. How much the absence of body consciousness is necessary to do such a thing? Similarly, they say when Hari Maharaj had a huge carbuncle on his back, when they wanted to operate, he said, no need for anesthesia. You tell me before the operation and withdraw my mind, you can do. Exactly, this is how they did. Such a huge operation lasting several hours was done without using anesthesia. You can imagine what a state of control of mind or body. So, these are the things, characteristics of Jivan Muktas. There cannot be a higher service to suffering humanity than all this. Because जिनके सानिध्य में मनुष्य को शांति मिलती है, they feel happy, they feel contented, there is peace and harmony, is much more important than कुछ खाना बांटना, कुछ चीज देना. वो तो खाना बांटेंगे तो कुछ समय बाद फिर तो खुदा लगेगा. Will you be free from hunger? So, that's why the first is the service at the level of the body, then at the level of the intellect, then at the level of the spirit. Annadan, Vidyadan, or Adhyatma. The ultimately spiritual service. They live in society by their very presence and raise its moral and spiritual tone. See, their very presence, brings about such a sense of moral balance and peace, etc. in the society. Ramakrishna did not go and do any relief work. He was living simply in a corner in that temple of Dakshineshwar. But the people used to come in such large numbers. Whoever came felt such a deep sense of peace and calmness in his very presence, and they would go and convey in turn to others the effect of his very presence. So that is of a totally different nature. They are really the benefactors of mankind in a truer and more purposeful sense than any number of people engaged in honestly, uh, uh, sincerely as may be in acts of social service. जितनी सच्चाई से समाज सेवा करें तो ठीक है, लेकिन उससे भी बहुत गुना में अधिक इनकी समाज की जरूरत है, समाज की कल्याण कर है वैसी व्यक्ति. That kind of Atmajnanis who bring about such a tremendous peace and shanti to society. It is only those who have scaled the vertical heights of the spirit that can generate public weal to the greatest horizontal extent without consciously intending to do so. See, that people, the more and more they raise higher, they're able to spread more and more in the earth peace and shanti. So the more they raise higher, at the horizontal level, they will be able to spread peace. Because the moment they come into contact with such people, they experience peace and happiness. Spirit that can generate without consciously intending. Not that वो सोच समझ के करते हैं, I should bring peace, I should bring harmony. No, their very presence automatically generates peace and harmony. Have you not seen in recent time Bhagwan Ramana, a Jivan Mukta, in Sahaja Samadhi, affecting by his very presence the Copernican revolution, withdrawing men's minds from things material and centering them on the Atman? तो उनकी बात यहाँ भी करते हैं. तो क्या उसके बाद में ना एक इन रूम ऐसी आधा लेते हुए ऐसी अवस्था में हेलान लेके ऐसे बैठते थे जिससे समाधि सिर्फ उनकी आंख देखने में कितने लोग बहुत सारा प्रश्न लेके आ जाते थे. आंखें बैठने में आपसे सब प्रश्न खत्म हो जाता. Basically, we had so many questions, all have got answered automatically by itself. So it's possible. For as the great men have taught us, The happiness, the pursuit of worldly things and the removal of physical needs will give us is neither unmixed nor lasting and is nothing when compared to the peace and bliss of Atmalabha exemplified by the Jivan Mukta. You see, धरती में जितनी हम सुख की बात करते हैं, the happiness we talk about in the pursuit of worldly things, we got some money, we got some goods, we got some gifts, we got something else, all this, and somebody got cured of illness, all that, these are all definitely not long lasting. Today it is gone, tomorrow again it will come. Today you got some money, tomorrow it goes. So all these are all no, सुख दुख तो हमेशा ही आता रहता है ना ऐसे. Alternatively, the sukha and dukkha keep happening in our lives. Whereas the Atma Anubhuti, Atmanabha, is something, the peace and bliss and joy is something incomparable. That does not go away at all. Once you get the bliss, it always stays. In fact, as the Suti recommends in the word, Tasmat Atmajnanam hi abhyarchayet bhuti kama. Even for the worldly prosperity, one should seek it from a man of self-realization who has in his power to bestow it without consciously endeavoring or appearing to do so. Therefore, he says, even if you want worldly prosperity or anything, go and seek it from a great Atmajnani because he can do it just like that without any effort. That's why, so many people, so many rich people, so many others, why they go to Mahatmas thinking that just like that they can get it without any effort. It happens also to some extent. For by his very presence in society, like all saintly sages, he wraps the fragrance of the spirit far and wide and helps to dispel the ills of body and mind that afflict men about. Countless instances of victory of the spirit over matter. So again we have seen, all of us in some way or other we have seen how again the body succeeds, the spirit succeeds over matter or the mind over body. Many times we have seen, I have myself seen, all of you have seen how ultimately the spirit is supreme and it succeeds. Therefore, the idea of the Jivan Mukta or the person who has really conquered his self and reached the highest, this is of paramount importance and is extremely important, extremely relevant. So further he says, to know Advaita Vedanta is not the same as being an Advaitin with Atma Jnana and Atma Anubhuva. See, knowing Advaita Vedanta, you try to understand it intellectually. You try a lot of books. You are very studious, you are very intelligent, you are endowed with very sharp intellect. So you can study, you can learn the philosophy, you can discuss, you can argue, you can also teach others. But that is different from being a person endowed with Atma Jnana and Atma Anubhav. We say the case of Lakshmi Maharaj and some others. They were actually illiterate, but they had the Atmanubhuti, Atmanubhava, and Atmajnana. Because that was through practice they got established. So they had not read the theory, they had not know the intricacies or nuances of all those terms and terminology. You ask him to give a lecture in Advaita Vedanta, you will not be able to speak even 2 sentences. But if you want to see an Atmajnani, see his very presence brings you calmness, brings you peace, quietens you, you feel so different in his very presence. So that is the nature of such a jnana. One can be a Brahmavit as a matter of paroksha jnana, textual knowledge. Paroksha. Lecturing or writing on Advaita to the amazement of others is easy. But to go through sadhanas with faith and determination cuts off from the limelight of publicity, the seclusion of Guru-Sishya relation, and the privacy of one's being is possible, perhaps for one in a million. So, you can read books, you can give lectures, you can write books, and sab chakit ho jayenge sunke, it's all possible. But to go through the sadhanas with tremendous intensity, faith, and determination, and away from public gaze, किसी को सामने नहीं है, maybe in a guha, completely, in the presence of your guru alone, nobody. So, this is maybe 1 in a million can do such kind of a intense sadhana. That's why again they are quoting from the Gita, Manusyanam sahasreshu kachchit siddhihe Yadatapi siddhanam tachim mam peti tatvatah. So, Madhusudana Saraswati, he was also a great Advaitin, he was also Krishna Bhakta. So, he is explaining this among thousands of qualified by the Shastric knowledge and Punya Karma. Perhaps someone who has acquired Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka as a result of good deeds in several lives, endeavors to attain Siddhi, ensuing upon the dawn of Jnana with the purity of mind. So he says, amongst a huge number of thousands of people who have got good Shastra Jnana and their Punya Karma, etc., and they also have this Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, all that, then then also among them, see the Punya Karma as a result of good deeds in several births, they only try, even to attempt this Siddhi, the Advaita Siddhi or Advaita knowledge through the purity of mind, even the very attempt is, out of several thousands, a rare one. Among such sadhakas, someone obtains sakshatkara of the highest knowledge as a fusion of his Sravana, Manana, and Nidhyasana, and as non-different from his Pratigatman, having learned from his gurus Upadesha of the Mahavakyas like Tattvamasi, etc. So you see, among thousands and thousands of people who have heard about the Shastras, they have Punya Karma, they have started Nitya, Nitya Vastu Viveka, etc. because of the purity attained from several births. Such among them, the rare few, again they go further. Among such sadhakas, the rare one obtains the final, the Sakshatkara, the Atmanabhuti or Atmanabhava, because of Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasa and such strict disciplines. And then he learns that he is not different from Pratigatman, from the Guru's Upadesha, Mahavakya, such as Tattvamasi, such a person goes and reaches the pinnacle or the highest goal. Among innumerable men, he who adopts this jnana sadhana is extremely rare. Even among such, it is very rare to find one who has reaped the fruit of his jnana nishta. He says, even goes further. Among such jnanis also, was really reached the highest jnana nishtha, completely established in that kind of jnana. He says they are very rare and that number is even very, very few. Whatever may be true of the other persons, uh, the present writer is by no means less qualified. See, the Princess Bharati, although he is the great Brahmajnani himself, he says, I'm really not qualified. He rests in the hope that it may be given to him by the grace of Sri Bhagavad Pada and the great Acharyas have followed in his pontifical succession and bear his holy name to come in his future life. Ever so little near the consummation, celebrated in Shruti and taught by the Brahmanishtas down to ages. He says, I am not really qualified in the sense what is expected of that kind of Brahmajani. But he feels that, he hopes that it will be given to him by the grace of Sri Sankara Bhagavad Pata and other successive the Mahans who have come in this line. He was also one of them because he was a Sringeri Pitadesh. Sringeri Mat was established by Sri Sankara himself. He says they successively were around that throne, they may give him the highest Brahmanishta, etc. In all that, even he himself says he is not sure that, but definitely he was lost, but he actually, when he was at the height of his powers, he was still very full of consciousness, full of everything. He just literally walked into Tungabhadra because he felt that his mission work was over. He was a true Brahmajan. But he himself says, even if he has to take future birth, he says, Shastram Sharire Mimamsha Devaha Sri Chandrasekaraha Acharya Shankaracharyaha Santame Sarvajanmase. Let me Santu, let it even if I have to come back again. So this is how this introduction ends. And then now here in a few pages, the translator gives the gist, analysis of each of the chapters, etc. in a few pages. You can just have a glimpse of that and then start the text prop Vivekachudamani itself. The invocation, Chandrasekhar Bharati, the author of the commentary of the work, then Sri Shankara Bhagavad Bhata, or that the invocation is given. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namam Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Lokasangaram, all that happens. And then in the introduction, the value of human birth, the necessity to strive for mukti, how one should protect oneself from samsara by self-effort aided by viveka, vairagya, and karma sannyasa, etc. Completely giving up the work. That's discussed in the slokas 9 to 10. And then, Atma Vichara is the only means for mukti. What are the qualifications for Atma Vichara? Sadhana Chatushtaya, Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, Vairagya, Sama. All these, like Sama, Dama, Uparati, Tiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana, Mokshitva, Samadhamadi, Satshampati, etc. All those things are discussed in the next few slokas. And the Guru Prasada, the grace of the importance, the grace of Guru, the primacy importance of Vairagya, Mokshitva over the rest, the place of Bhakti, and then definition of Bhakti, all these are all going to be up to slokas 32, etc. Then a person who is just qualified approaches a Guru. Then what are the qualifications of Guru, the methods of approaching the Guru, prayer to the Guru, duty of the Guru is so approached, the Guru's assurance to the Shishya, then means to Mukti. These are all coming in the next few slokas. Then Shraddha, Bhakti, and then Jnana. Then the samsara caused by Ajnana is to be destroyed by the fire of Jnana. All these take us up to slokas almost 50. Then Shishya's request to the Guru and the 7 questions which we saw earlier. The Guru's appreciation of the questions. One should endeavor for mukti oneself. It's only by self-effort. This is the only means to mukti. The Guru can show you the way, but ultimately you have to struggle, you have to strive yourself, then only it is possible. And then finally, the knowledge of oneness of Atman and Brahman. The Guru again comments these Shishya's questions and builds them to listen. All these are all discussed, and then Guru says, now you listen. And now we go to the 3rd chapter. It's Katam Vimokshaha, how is Mukti achieved? This 4th question is first taken up. The reason for taking the question is because preliminary statement of the means, including Vairagya, Samadhama, etc., giving up all karma, receiving Shruti text from the Guru, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, all preceded by discrimination of the Atman by the Anatman. You must do the discrimination of Atman from Anatman, and then all those, etc., that slowly take the aspirant to the Mukti. Then in the next 4th chapter, Atma Anatma Vivechana. What is this Anatman? Then Atman is identified by negation of the Anatman. Because what is Atman? That which is not Anatman is Atman. So Anatma is first defined. In Stula Sharira, it makes for bondage through addiction to sense pleasures. These pleasures should be renounced. Then Stula Sharira is not to be pondered to because it is not worthy of it. Then the functioning of the Jagrat, the Atman not being owned like a house, not the owner, its characteristics, all these take us further. There's a elaborate discussion on the Sukshma Sharira, the Pancha Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, Prana, and subtle elements, aspects of Antakarana, Avidya, Kama, Karma, etc. Then the Linga Sharira effect of all these carrier of vasanas, beginningless upadhi of the Atman, Swapna, its special condition, the features and functions of Sukshma Sharira, they affect the body but do not touch the Atman. The Sukshma Sharira affects the body but not the Atman. How they are mistaken to be Atman. Worldly joys and sorrows to be traced to the modification of the Antakarna, that things are dear for the sake of Atman. In Bhagavan, this also comes, the wife loves the Pati loves the Patni for the sake of Atman and not for the Patni's sake. Like that, here also, are dear for the sake of Atman, which is the nature of bliss established on the basis of Shruti, Pratyaksha, the declaration of the wise and inference. Shruti Pramana, Pratyaksha, and the Anumana or the inference of the declaration of the wise and the that's called Anumana. Then it takes about what's called the Karna Sharira, called Abhyakta, the power of Ishvara, beginningless avidya made of these gunas. Then how it is known, inferred by its effects, the cause of the universe, that which cannot be explained, anirvachaniya. The three gunas consisting of the avidya, the effect of rajoguna, the power of vikshepa, then the samsaric activities which make up the bondage, effect of tamoguna, avarana shakti facilitating vikshepa. As we always discuss, there are two kinds of ajnana, avarana and vikshepa. Avarana is covering, vikshepa is distorting. So the avarana comes out of the avarana shakti, it comes like that. The vikshepa is due to rajoguna, the avarana is due to tamoguna. It covers its power even on the learned. How these two make for bondage. What is sattva guna? The mixed and the pure. The mixed sattva guna, where there is no tamas, but there is a trace of rajas. So all these different types of gunas are all discussed. It is all as taken up to say something like the entire fourth chapter. In analysis of Tvam Padartha, Tvam, in the Tat Tvamasi, what is this Tvam? You are that. What is that Atman? The self-existence, eternal reference of I, witness of the three mental states, Jagrat, Sapna, Shushadhi, Sap, uska, so Sakshi is the witness, different from the five sheets, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, all those koshas, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya, the five Panchakoshas, different from that. In the witness, pure intelligence, all pervasive and illumining all. By the mere presence of which bodily organs are drawn to objects by wrong attachments, that by which everything is known. The witness, he knows everything, complete knower of everything, but that remains unaffected. Inmost self is sadhakas, beginningless, then unchanging, pure intelligence, etc. Then finally, the exhortation to the Shishya, the Guru says, realize I am the Atman. Then ko nama bandha. What is bondage? That is explained in the slokas 139 to 140 in chapter 6. Then the second question in that, Katam Esha Agataha. How did it arise? Bondage you explain. How does bondage come about? Then that is, because Tamoguna concealing the effulgence of the Atman. Atman is concealed, avarana, it is covered by Tamoguna. Then the Rajoguna causing its wrong identification with the body and its qualities. This has taken us to almost up to that. Then, Katam Patistasya, how does it continue? You know it, then how does it not go? The tree of samsara continues as long as ajnana persists and causes samsaric afflictions. So then it was next in the seventh chapter, the fourth question is again taken up. How is mukti attained? We started beginning, with the fourth question only. But again it is being reiterated in chapter 7, not by crores of karmas, but only by vijnana, either by the grace of Parameshwara. Karma not ruled out absolutely, but limited to purifying the mind with the instrument of Atma Jnana. Earlier, the Guru referred to the great spot of Viveka Vijnana, implying that Jnana arises from Viveka, a discrimination between the Atman and Natman. The Shishya asked, please instruct me in the process of Viveka discrimination. So the Guru proceeds to convey in detail what was said in brief. पहले जो संक्षेप में जो बताया विस्तार रूप में स्थूल सूक्ष्म कारण शरीर में कैसे सब होता है. Then the analysis and rejection of पंचकोश. पंचकोश की कैसे आप त्याग कर सकते हैं. Then determination of the त्वम पदार्थ. पहले तत् पदार्थ हो गया, तत्त्वमसि तत्व हो गया. अभी त्वम पदार्थ के बारे में बता रहे हैं. The unveiling of the Atman hidden by the five कोशेस. पंचकोश के अंदर जो छिपे हुए आत्मा का कैसे प्रकट करना, that is being one by one. First is आनंदमय कोशा, then प्राणमय कोशा, then मनोमय कोशा, then विज्ञानमय कोशा. Then ये सब आप एक एक करके finally the आनंदमय कोशा also is being discussed in detail. These are all covered one by one. Each of these koshas are dealt with. Then tat padarth ho gaya. Then again is talking about now with tvam padarth ho gaya. फिर दोबारा tat padarth दोहरावे. Tat padarth is Brahman. Brahman is the real, the infinite, the pure. Tattvamasi, you are that, and you see that. Finally, now they prove that Atman and Brahman are one and the same. Brahman, the real, infinite, pure, self-existence, ever blissful, not different from one's Atman, eternal, the supreme Advaitic truth. So then he says how the world is seen. Actually, Brahman only in various forms. Actually, there is no part as apart from clay. If you take a pot is only given shape, given to clay. In essence, it's only clay. So the entire world is an appearance of Brahman. To say that the world is real is to prattle as in sleep. So, the consequences if the world is real, the infinitude of Atman will be impaired, Shruti will be rendered untrue, the Upadesh of Guru will become false, so it is all not acceptable. The world is true, why is not seen in Sushupti? So again, this is a very famous argument in Advaita that if the world is true, why do we not feel it in Shruti? Then it is Mithya like the rope and the serpent. The serpent which is imposed or the truth, its rope is covered, then the distortion of suspense takes place, and that is how we see the world. Finally, the conclusion about the Tat Padartha, that is Brahman, the supreme reality without second. It's a pure intelligence, flawless, peaceful, Anadi, Ananta, Kriyahin, of the nature of eternal bliss. All these are all being discussed, and it takes us almost to up to 240 slokas. Then Swanubhava. Swanubhava is one's own realization. Tattvamasi, how is it realized? This name is Brahma Sakshatkara by Nididhyasana. Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. These are the sadhanas that are described in all traditional Advaita. You have to hear from a very competent guru. And hearing that, you again and again you internalize it. Whatever you heard, again and again you go through that, internalize that, manana, and then through Nididhyasana. Is that kind of a contemplation, you realize it finally. Tat, Tvam and Tat, their identity is established on the basis of Shruti, the literal meaning, then what happens to the Upadhis, the negation of Upadhis, etc. All this. So then, this leads to the establishment in Brahman consciousness. The Shishya is exhorted to realize himself as pure Brahman. That only will lead to the cessation of all births afterwards. Then Brahmatmana Samsthiti, remaining as Brahman by Vasana Kshaya and Manonasha. All Vasanas are destroyed. When mind is destroyed, then only one can be completely established in that Brahmatmana Samsthiti. Despite knowledge of the real, the Vasanas causing the sense of Karta and Bhokta may persist. Even if you know the real, the Vasanas of Karta and Bhokta may be. They may be, they are not leaving any scope for even the least trace of, again that idea of Karta and Bhokta coming in, or Vasanas coming in. They know Loka Vasana, Deha Vasana, Shastra Vasana, these are all obstacles to Brahma Jnana. When these are got rid of, the Atma Vasana shines clearly, and then the Guru says, you must get into the superimposition to nullify the Vasanas. So, what is being a Brahmanishta? It involves not eating to forgetfulness to Atma. Atma Visruti never is to happen. It's always just be remembered. Not think to the body to be the Atman, transferring the sense of I from the body to the Atman, realizing that everything that is seen is only an appearance. All drishti is only appearance. Clear statement of the nature of Atman. Advice to give up attachment to flesh and rest the mind of the Atman as the only way to attain peace. They know the Ahankara is the main obstacle to Brahmajnana. Let's be destroyed to obtain the bliss of Atma Samrajya. And then, again, you should be careful because by the force of vasanas or even by the thought of sense objects, they again leave the seeds of samsara. So you see, so even an Atma Jnani is not supposed to be completely free from all these dangers. That means what? It's not that just enough if you just get once a glimpse. Again, again, it has to be reiterated, reinforced. Constantly, you should be aware. Constantly, there should be this idea of discrimination, etc. So that this anatma vasanas, the samsaric vasanas, do not never ever get in. All that should be remembered. So, you should abstain from actions which can bring about such thoughts, etc., so that the vasanas are rooted out completely. Then one should lead to other ideas like non-dual, Pratyagatman. The world appears due to prarabdha. One should lead one's days in the contemplation of the Brahman. So, warning to a Brahmanishta against negligence, said to be the death itself. Greatest evil for a jnani. Negligence causes delusion, which breeds ahankara, which in turn causes bondage. Affects even a wise man. The successive degradations of one who yields to pramada is advised to Sisha to avoid it and be ever constant in uninterrupted contemplation of art. To never ever give up. Negligence. सो गया कुछ नहीं कर रहा है प्रमाद नो एक बार कुछ प्राप्त किया समझ गया खत्म है नो अगेन अगेन consistently do it so that you never forget the Atman, never that smriti gets away from you. So otherwise, it will lead to samsara and delusion, etc. Then there will be degradation. Warning in perception of difference and looking on the scene as the Atman. Duty of a sannyasam to be forever established in the content of Brahman to the exclusion of everything external. बाहर सब कुछ ऐसी देखना त्यागना समझना that this is not Atman, this is all anatman. So, attachment to body and mukti cannot coexist. So always there should be this awareness that the body is impermanent, it has to be discarded like that. So, then finally the mukta, he always sees his Atman as a substratum inside and outside everywhere, is free from all upadhis, he is ever in his sarvatma bhava. So that, there is, there are so many shrutis. Repetition of warning against vikshepa shakti and its cause, pavana shakti, samyak dharta darshana, that means to get over the avarana, vikshepa, and the grief caused by it. Then, the conviction that everything other than Atman is Nitya, is Atma Darshana. What it is, when it arises, then when attained in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, all that is all, discussed subsequently. And then the means to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, what are the steps, the importance of Vairagya and Viveka, the nature of Akandakara Vritti. So, restatement of what has been said in the Atmanishta. It goes on. Nature of Brahman is again reiterated. The manner of Brahmanishta, negation of differences, negotiation, Brahman, etc. Then Brahmanubhava in Samadhi, its effect, no more contact with samsara, the experience of pure bliss, no body consciousness, is a condition of the yogi who is a Jivan Mukta. Then relation of Vairagya, Bodha, Uparati and Jnana, the respective fruits, the signs of fulfillment of Vairagya, etc. are given. And then chapter 11 talks about Jivan Mukti, the Jnani and his incomparable bliss, the mark of a Jivan Mukta. No more involvement in samsara for him. If he persists, one is not a Brahmavid. Any semblance of bondage disappears before Brahmajnana. Then the effect of karma and Jivan Mukta is established. Any external awareness by him due to prarabdha karma. Experience of pleasure and pain indicates fusion of previous karma. Sanchita karma melts away with Brahmajnana like action in a dream. So all these are elaborately discussed. Then Brahman is non-dual, there is no plurality. This truth is realized by great yatis who enjoy supreme peace. And finally, what is the Upadesha gives is to lead the Sishya along the ancient path to liberation. He called an instruction to him to pursue it. So he has told everything, but then he tells the Sishya to practice, to strive hard. The criteria for Atmadarshana, Shruti, Yukti, Upadesha, and Anubhava, the limitation of Upadesha by the Gurus, and the need for self-effort. Upadesha, Guru gives, but the Sishya has to work hard, his own effort. Finally, in the conclusion, the Sishya becomes Atmanishta, experiences Samadhi for a time, wakes up and explains. He describes his Advaita Anubhava, achieved by the grace of his Guru, his grateful obedience to the Guru's benediction, and final charge to the Shishya. The Jivan Mukta's life for the remainder of his days is not born again, no bandhar moksha from an ultimate point of view. Parting words of Guru, having listened to the Guru, making obeisance to him, the Shishya, freed from bondage, takes leave of him. The Guru departs in a sense of ecstatic bliss, purifying the ground that he treats. Such a Jivan Mukta, the place they walk on, that place becomes pure. The nature of the Atman thus expounded, the form of dialogue for the benefit of mumukshus. So this text is for the sake of mumukshus, those who really want mukti. This upadhyaya is recommended for earnest mumukshus, free from all defects of mind, who have turned their faces against worldly pleasures, who enjoy inward peace and have regard for Shruti. The purpose of the work is to help those afflicted by samsaric woes to attain liberation. Those who are suffering in samsara, for their liberation is in the form of Guru Sri Sambhada, this text is, this Shruti is given. But then they must turn their face against the worldly pleasure, they must enjoy inward peace and have regard for Shrutis. If all is there, then it is possible. That is how this text ends. So in the next class onwards, we will take up sloka by sloka, the proper Vivekachudamani text itself. The 2-3 translations are available. Let us go slowly because it's a little difficult text. We will make a sincere attempt to study it properly so that we also get inspired to pursue at least in a small way the search after Atman. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna.